Hello, hello. I'm Michaelson. Excerpt 18 of Letter 2, which we will read in a minute, goes on narrating Jesus' teachings. This excerpt in particular sets forth the true teaching of the two famous but inexact declarations or maxims. If your neighbor asks or forces you to go a mile with him, well, then go 2 miles with him. Or if he asks you to give him your shirt or your coat, well, then give him also your coat or your cloak. Please enjoy the reading. Letter 2, Excerpt 18. Jesus' teachings, continued. The true teaching of the two famous declarations. If your neighbor asks or forces you to go a mile with him, then go 2 miles with him. If he asks you to give him your shirt or your coat, then give him also your coat or your cloak. A man shouted out to me, "Tell us, teacher, how do we remain peaceful with our neighbors when they themselves will give us no peace?" I said to him, smiling, "When your neighbor comes to you and says he has to travel some distance away and does not want to go alone and asks you to go with him, what do?" The man laughed. "If my neighbor wanted to take me away from what I was doing, I would not be pleased. I would tell him to find someone else to go with him as I was busy." "And how would your neighbor feel?" I asked. The man shrugged. "I don't know. And next time you needed him to do you a favor, how will he respond to your asking?" The man was no longer laughing. He did not reply. Another man said, "He will swear at him and tell him to go elsewhere for help." I said to the people, "He has answered rightly. And how will he feel?" I pointed to the man who had first spoken, smiling at him. A woman shouted above the laughter, "He will tell everyone he meets what a selfish and miserable neighbor he has. Perhaps he will want to hurt him in some way." There were shouts of agreement, and I nodded. Yes, he will have forgotten that he was once asked by his neighbor to walk 1 or 2 miles with him and he refused. He will not see the law of reaping and sowing at work in his life. He set it in motion when he refused to go a mile with his neighbor, and now he is reaping of his attitudes and actions. Of what use to be angry when he has created the situation all by himself? The people laughed and nodded and spoke to one another. Never before had they heard such knowledge of human behavior. Here was an entirely new teaching. I said to them, "I advise you, when your neighbor comes to you asking you to walk a mile with them or anything else that will make him more at ease and happy, first think about what you would like him to do for you if you also had a need. How would you like him to respond to your request?" A murmur swept through the crowd, and I could see that they understood what I was telling them. In fact, if your neighbor asks you to go 1 mile, do it with a happy, easy agreement, and be prepared to go on to do 2 miles if necessary. When you refuse people, you do not realize it, but you tighten up your minds and bodies ready to protect yourself from being forced to do something you do not want to do. You tighten up your minds and bodies, and the Father is tightened up also and cannot do its love work within you, and out of this tightening comes sickness. Again, you may meet someone sorely in need who is cold and unhappy. He may ask you for your coat. Don't pass him by glaring at him. Some people laughed. They knew this was what they would do. No, give him your coat And if he is really cold, give him your cloak also. Go your way rejoicing. Rejoicing? A disbelieving voice asked. I laughed and said, yes, my friend, rejoicing. Firstly, because you had a coat and a cloak to give, and then rejoicing because you realized that now you have a lack of the coat and cloak yourself. Your Father within you will shortly return the coat and cloak to you in some surprising way. If, however, you give him coat and cloak and then continue walking, grumbling to yourself, now, why did I do that? I was foolish. Now I will be cold instead of him, and people will laugh at me because I have given my coat and cloak and left myself with nothing. And what will my wife say when I get home? The people were nodding and laughing, enjoying the picture of the man who gives away coat and cloak and then remembers what an evil thing he has done to himself. I knew that very often they did deprive themselves to help others and then regretted their generosity afterwards. I waited a moment and then shouted in a loud voice to get their full attention, have I not told you that you reap as you sow? Have I not told you clearly that your thoughts, words, actions create your future circumstances? So what do you want to sow to reap after you have given your coat and cloak to the stranger? Do you want your gifts restored to you? Or do you want to be without coat and cloak for a long, long time? Because that is what will happen to you if you go on your way, angry and upset because you gave away your coat and cloak. Your words and actions will seal, make hard like rock, the poverty you have brought upon yourself by giving away your coat and cloak. The people were no longer smiling and laughing. They were very quiet and listening intently. Remember, first do to others what you would have them do to you. Then there will be peace and contentment in your minds and hearts, and the Father will be able to do its love work within your bodies, minds, and hearts. Give and give abundantly, and rejoice that you have gifts to give to those in need, because as you give, so will your gifts be restored to you in the way that you most need them. Give with happy hearts. Give in the faith and knowledge that where there is lack in your lives, so will the Father do his love work abundantly in you and for you. So how was the reading today? Once again, with your permission, I will reread the final lines of this beautiful passage. Remember, first do to others what you would have them do to you. Then there will be peace and contentment in your minds and hearts, and the Father will be able to do its love work within your bodies, minds, and hearts. Give and give abundantly, and rejoice that you have gifts to give to those in need, because as you give, so will your gifts be restored to you in the way that you most need them. Give with happy hearts. Give in the faith and knowledge that where there is lack in your lives, so will the Father do its love work abundantly in you and for you. Here once again, the great Master, Jesus of Nazareth, gives us additional examples of the way in which this fundamental, magnificent, universal law of life works. The law of sowing and reaping in the actions of giving. Dear brother, life, divine life, the universe, the divine universal consciousness calls you to open your heart to your brother in need. Give from your heart to your brother. Be happy and willing always to share your things with your brothers in need, your material things, your toys, your food, your clothes, your money. And give with a pure heart, with a happy heart. Give happy, truly happy that that brother in need is having his needs satisfied, that he's being taken care of. You're just being a mere instrument for that. And without expecting anything in return. Nothing. No, no, no. Don't give because I will get something back instead. No. But give in faith and knowing that this universal life of love, sowing and reaping, will manifest in your life whenever you have the need, and that which you give will be restored to you in proper time and in some magnificent, astonishing way. But most important than all, everything is important, but most important, give yourself, give your heart to others, give your time. Every day, there is no day in which there is some person that approaches you with a pretext, maybe with a silly comment, a silly remark, or saying something which sounds kind of unusual or funny, but this person is truly asking you to give him or give her some love, an affectionate hug, your time, a shining, loving look, not a mere glance, a quick glance, but a long, loving look, or the patting in the shoulder. Give of yourself, give of your heart. Do not be afraid of that, because this is the universal life of sowing and reaping, and this is a universe what is made about. It's a powerful, dynamic force of giving and receiving. What you give, you will receive, dear brother, dear sister. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Please subscribe to my channel by hitting the button below. Give me a like if you like this video, and thanks so much for sharing with friends. I'll see you tomorrow. I love you all.